It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends up, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker here on the Full Court Press. Appreciate you tuning in on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, also streaming on 1069thefan.com, on the 1069 The Fan mobile app. And, of course, if you missed anything, you can go back and listen at your leisure with our podcasts that are available wherever you find your podcasts. But also, we have links to those on our website and on our mobile app. So, had a lot of fun last hour talking to Stockton Jukes and Devin Dixon, previewing the Green Canyon versus Crimson Cliffs 4A football championship game set on Friday at 11 a.m. at Rice-Eccles Stadium. We'll have full play-by-play coverage on 100.9 Light FM. That's been our traditional home for the Green Canyon Wolves. And hopefully we're talking about another 4A championship coming to Green Canyon when we're on the air Friday live on location at Prodigy Brewing. So love to have you stop by and say hi Friday afternoon. And we will be recapping that championship game, win or lose, for Green Canyon. We'll also be doing our score predictions and doing more predictions for Utah State against Boise. And love to have you stop by and share your predictions as well. We're going to have a stack of papers where you can fill it out and put your name down. And we're working on some kind of a contest to reward you, give you an incentive for doing that.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get a reward. We might, I don't know, we haven't talked about this. Maybe we should shift our own score predictions to Friday instead of our normal Thursday.
Yeah, we might have to do that.
Then what would we do on Thursday?
I think we'll think of something.
There's always
we can
something.
still give keys and other predictions, just not the score.
Yeah, we can hold our own score predictions and be like, you have to come to Prodigy Brewing.
Yep.
To figure out what our score predictions are for the week. Yes. It'll be a big game.
Huge. Massive game. Good game last night for Utah State men's basketball, getting the win over Southern Utah and giving up a lot of points, but being able to score points as well. That was something that we wondered, would this Aggie team be able to create enough offense? And certainly Great Osabar and Darius Brown did well enough, those two guys individually. A couple of days now to spend in the gym, and then head to the Cayman Islands for a little tournament on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Yeah, it's going to be a big time for them because we've seen little weaknesses here and there. We've seen struggling to score on the road against Bradley and struggling to make buckets in clutch situations. Or I guess in overtime, they made enough clutch buckets to tie the game in regulation, I guess keep it tight, although they could have made some shots to close out that game. We saw some weaknesses on defense against SCU. Facing some dynamic guards, they struggled in that one. So they're going to have to deal with a bunch of these challenges. I haven't done much of scouting of Marshall or any of the other Aggies' potential opponents, but I imagine through 3 games they're going to see some dynamic guards. They're going to see some tough defensive teams. They're going to see some shot makers. They're going to see a bunch of stuff in quick succession, and this team's going to learn a lot more about itself. And hopefully, for their sake, they play good defense. Otherwise, Danny Sprinkle might kill them.
Well, he really got after Great Osabar early in the game, who his body language wasn't great. He was not playing very efficient. And the sidelines, he talked about this after the game. He really gave it to him. And Osabar, to his credit, he responded in a big way and had an awesome game for Utah State. Scoring, defensively, grabbing rebounds, helping his teammates. So that's great. You got to have that, everything dialed in. It was also nice to not have Darius Brown on the bench from time to time, where he played a lot of minutes, but he didn't play every minute.
Yeah, and that's where, Javon Jackson, he came in and had a pretty solid game.
Yeah, he did have a good game.
Mason Falslev playing well. And so you need to see a lot out of Mason and Javon. Not so much that they need to carry the backcourt, it's that they need to be able to carry it when Darius Brown isn't there. That's the role of, for Javon, he's an actual reserve. Mason, is one of the starters, but not necessarily one of the stars. Ian Martinez also going to have to carry the torch there. But with Mason and Javon, it's more that they have to carry the point guard role. Ian's probably not going to get called on to do that as much as maybe Mason or Javon. So, yeah, it was nice to see pretty solid games out of both of them. But yeah, talking about, lighting a fire under these guys, Danny Sprinkle had to do that. He called a timeout 3.5 minutes in and benched half his starters. Osbar went out. Isaac Johnson went out. I can't remember if Mason went out. But it felt like I think at least 3 of the starters went out. And they put in Agmon-Poe. They put in, Ian Martinez. And I think somebody else. They really quickly went to the bench. Carson Temple, I think he just went in for Great Osbar. It's like the guy who didn't even play against Bradley, and bam, he's in for Osbar right away.
Yeah.
So, and it felt like, all right, I'm benching you because you are terrible right now. But then when they came back out, especially Osbar, they got the message, and they played. And Danny Sprinkle's playing a bit of tough love with these guys. Like, you need to play, you need to perform. But not so much in a mean way. It's more of I know how you can perform. Like, he lights into Great Osbar for playing terrible early in the game. He's like, I know you can play better. And then he did. He goes for 30 and 10.
Right.
Stuff that, that's the stuff that Justin Bean and Nemish Keta and, before them, Chris Smith and Kobe McEwen, some former Aggie greats have been doing. It's like, that's what Osbar is capable of. And Danny had to remind him, was like, you know how good you are? Maybe play like that.
I know what's inside you.
Yeah, and he did. And credit to Osbar. Going out there and making up for the mistakes he made early on with some stellar play.
Yeah, rough start in the game. Things started to settle down a little bit, and then they made a nice push to kind of close out that first half, which carried over to the second. But Coach Sprinkle talked a little bit about that I guess you call it a push, or just the final few minutes of how they really dialed in defensively and started scoring points as well for themselves to get in a much better position going into the half.
Yeah, we kind of talk about the last 4, first 4, and a lot of people call it the middle 8. But the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 of the second half, a lot of games are won and lost in those minutes. And like tonight, we won. We were probably plus 18 in those minutes. And but when you get that momentum going into halftime and then you come out with that same energy, some teams quit. Some teams buckle when you do that. And credit to Southern Utah, like they kept battling back and making some shots.
Yeah, honestly,
they did not go away.
Yeah, they didn't go away. But the thing is, you could say that the Aggies won that in that middle 8. I think if you really boil it down to some of the runs the Aggies had, because they outscored them like 9-0. I think they had a 9-0 run. It's like last 2 minutes 45 seconds of the first half, in like the first 2:30 something. So technically it's not the middle 8, but same idea.
Right.
You don't have to be exact on the math there. The principle is the same. Close out the first half strong, open up the second half strong as well, and that's something that can just change the game. And it did. They outscored them, I think, 20-3 in that span that I specified. Had a pair of 9-0 runs, and I think the only shot that Southern Utah made was a 3-pointer, like late in the half. And that was all they did for about 5 or 6 minutes of time, spanning kind of the end of the beginning of first half, second half. And the thing is, against Bradley, the Aggies got half of that. They had a strong end to the first half, went on a 6-0 run to end the first half. They didn't do anything beginning of the second half. I mean, defensively they did. But they could have had that kind of thing against Bradley, but they only did half the work. Against Southern Utah, they do the whole job, and what do you know, that stretch, 5 or 6 minutes, just about defined the game because it put the Aggies up by double digits, and they didn't really give up that lead the rest of the way.
So if you remember, after the Bradley game, we were talking about what do we want to see in the next game from Utah State? What are the things that need to be worked on in practice that we see improvement on the next time they see the court? For me, one of them was guard initiation. Will somebody besides Darius Brown come alive and take some pride in that and be able to do something? Will they be able to manufacture points if the offense isn't flowing and not have these long stretches of scoreless droughts. From what I recall, those were the biggest concerns for me that I was going to be looking for in this game against Southern Utah. And I think that was mostly answered. I think we're still kind of looking for who that other point guard can be for Utah State. But at least we did see Darius Brown get some breathers on the bench where Coach trusted the rest of the team enough to take Darius Brown out of the game for certain stretches. That's something that is going to continue to be worked on, but I'm encouraged by starting to see things pivot back to that where it doesn't all fall on Darius Brown's shoulders.
Yeah, and I think, the fact that Javon Jackson had a pretty good game, the fact that Mason Falsell, he had a few, talk about manufactured points. He went out there, he had 11 points. It's not this superstar night. There's some tough buckets. He went in there and he manhandled a couple of Southern Utah players on the way to on the basket, like just bullying them out of the way and laying the ball in. And so, manufacturing points that way. And I think Mason had like 4 assists. Of course, he dang near had a double-double because he had 9 rebounds. So he was going out there doing a lot of things. Felt like Mason Falsell might have had the quietest, night, relative to the amount of production he actually had. Kind of forgot that he's 11, 9, and 4 there. So I do like what we're seeing out of the guards. For me, as far as things I was hoping we'd see, we didn't really. I was hoping we'd see better defense on the guards. That didn't happen. I was just hoping to see better defense in general, and it didn't happen. I think offensively, they definitely improved, clearly. Aside from three-point shooting, they did pretty well offensively.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so from here on out, we've seen these guys can produce. We've seen they can produce inside the arc at an incredibly efficient rate. I think despite struggles in the three-point line, I think they shot over 60% as a team, which is absurd for how well you do inside the arc. I think they missed their first 4 layups, and then they ended up making like 12 straight at one point. So improving inside the arc, but now at this point kind of shifting, let's continue working on that defense. Some of the offensive concerns have been allayed, at least in terms of inside the arc. Now let's work on three-point shooting so you can have that inside out. You clearly have that inside the paint, 2-pointers working really well. Let's get that other aspect of the offense, and then you have a complete offense, inside out, playmakers on the perimeter, playmakers on the inside. That's a complete offense. And then obviously Danny Sprinkle is going to keep drilling these guys, play defense till the cows come home.
Yeah, absolutely. Because defense travels. If you're in a tournament and you're facing different offensive styles, different style of playmakers, then if you have a solid defensive scheme and buy-in from your team, then that's going to get you through a tournament that they're going to be going up against this upcoming week, where you don't know. I mean, they know they're going to face Marshall. That's all they know. And then after that, it's okay. We got to look at the film, who played earlier today, figure out a game plan, and go back to the hotel, do some walkthroughs, and figure out what we're going to do for the next game against a new opponent who we really haven't had much time to scout.
Yeah, it's a good way to just hash out the fundamentals, because the fundamentals of a lot of defense and offense, they're not going to change a whole lot between opponents. Yeah, you got to scout, this guy is going to shoot a lot of threes, this guy is going to do this that's maybe out of the ordinary, but, defense, getting over screens, recovering, if he goes over the screen or rejects the ball screen, all those different things, a lot of basic stuff. And it's a lot of the basic stuff that the Aggies need to work on as a team, because that's what all this is going through. They're not learning anything fancy. They're learning to gel as a team, get the basics of defense down, get the basics of the system down. And so playing 3 games in quick succession where they have to rely on those fundamentals, it's going to be a big learning experience for them. And it will hopefully, as you brought up either earlier this week or maybe even yesterday, can help them when they go play in the Mountain West tournament, where it's going to be the same style of game, all in a row, and you don't have time to scout these guys.
Right. The advantage, though, the difference is that in the tournament, you've probably already played those teams at least once.
Yeah,
before.
you will have a couple of scouting reports and all that.
Familiarity. By the way, just some breaking news. NCAA has rejected the postseason waiver requests for James Madison, Jacksonville State, and Tarleton State. So, but they could still play in bowl games if there aren't enough 500 teams that are on at least 6-6.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the woods, but what it does mean is that they're not going to a New Year's Six bowl.
And that's a shame. JMU is I think earned that, but you say it's the rule, but it means change the rule. When you find a rule is getting in the way of allowing the best teams to play, get rid of that rule. Because I guess what, and maybe somebody should tell me if somebody can find a reason, because sometimes I haven't thought things all the way through and figured out every situation. But what's the reasoning behind telling a team that just went into FBS that they can't go to a bowl game, or I guess a New Year's Six bowl, or they can only go to a bowl game if there aren't enough other teams? What's the benefit there?
I know. I don't. Look, you're making the transition, moving up. You're going to be going up against schools that most of them are going to have more resources, maybe a little more history, but you come in and you're going to play at this level. If you're good enough to win that many games, it's not like especially James Madison, they're undefeated. It's not like they're playing a lower division schedule. They're playing at your level and they're winning games. They've reached the threshold. They've surpassed the threshold that is required to get to a bowl game. Why does it matter if it's 1 or 2 years after they've moved up? That seems very arbitrary to me.
Yeah, it does feel arbitrary. I guess maybe they're just embarrassed or something. I don't know. Somebody should try and tell me what the actual logic behind that is, because it just feels like it's something that somebody said. They created a process, and somebody just said, "Oh yeah, we'll make it so you can't go to a bowl game for 3 years or 2 years, however long it is."
We should make them wait.
Yeah, it's like, okay, but why?
I think that they've, it wasn't that long ago there were only 100 teams at this level. Now we're at 133. And I don't know and they've made it a little bit more expensive to move up. I don't know if they're just trying to make it harder, just to limit how many teams are playing at this level. But honestly, what does it matter? If they're playing games and they're winning games, if they're all going up against really soft competition and bad teams, maybe something. But you can't go through a full season and play a full season of a bunch of bad teams.
Yeah, and
somewhere along the line, you're going to play a decent team.
Yeah, and if you're in a decent conference, which James Madison, they're in the Sun Belt, right? Pretty sure they're in the Sun Belt, 'cause I think their fans were chanting SBC because they were apparently proud they're in the Sun Belt. But it's a solid conference. Teams in the Sun Belt, they're allowed to make bowl games, same as anybody else. You're playing decent teams. And, if you play too many FCS teams, you're not allowed to make a bowl game anyway if you don't have enough FBS wins. So you can't these FCS teams moving up, they can't manufacture a bowl schedule, illegitimately. Because they're usually going to be in a conference, and every conference is solid enough, and there's already rules regarding, how many FBS wins you have to have. It just feels like it's a relic of a bygone era, and maybe this is the catalyst that helps change, because usually you don't have these rule changes until somebody notices something is wrong. Hopefully this is the thing that says, okay, let's change this, get rid of this, we don't need it.
Seems weird. There are 82 available spots for bowl games.
Which is already too many.
Yes. And so some projections out there, the Athletic is only projecting 78 teams getting to 6 wins. So there's going to be space for some 5 and 7 schools, or to get James Madison and Jacksonville State in there.
You bet your butt James Madison's going to be the first of the non-6-6 teams that gets picked. Everybody's going to want them. At least if it's competitive, or best teams available reasons. I guess if they're potentially including, ticket sales and whatnot, maybe there's a little more that can go into that. And I don't know how good James Madison is at traveling, but if you're wanting the best team, James Madison's the first that you're looking at. Say, I want them going up against some other team, whoever else, some other 6-6 or 7-5 team. Because they're a really good team.
Yeah, undefeated. 9952 texting in, the UC Irvine game on December 2nd suddenly became interesting and bigger. Yeah, UC Irvine beating USC in a close game, but pulling off, and it was on the road. Big game for UC Irvine, and the Anteaters will be in Logan.
Yeah, UC Irvine, they're not a bad program at all. I think they made the NCAA tournament in recent years. At least I feel like I recall them making it. So not a bad team at all. So there's a lot of games to look forward to on this schedule. I know there's not going to be any of these world beaters. UC Irvine gets the upset, but I don't think they're necessarily going to be a world beater.
UC Irvine currently 79th in KenPom.
So doing pretty good.
Bradley at 80.
So hopefully you can get one of those top 100 KenPom. You already dropped the Bradley one.
Yeah.
Drop that opportunity. Maybe make up for it with the win over UC Irvine.
But at least you played against a good team on the road.
Yeah, it helps, but
Good-ish team.
I don't know, it raises your strength of schedule. Thing is, good losses don't help you. They just don't hurt you.
Yes, that's true. All right, another timeout here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, Utah Jazz had got their second win in the in-season tournament against the hapless Portland Trailblazers. But then also continuing to get comments from coach and players getting ready for Utah State and Boise State matchup on Saturday, the last home game for the Aggies. It'll be senior day, so it could be an emotional one for Utah State and certainly Boise State. A lot of questions about their team after their head coach got dismissed over the weekend. The quarterback, one of their quarterbacks is hurt, so there's no question who their starter is going to be. But there are still questions about their running back position and a few others. So there's still lots to get into and figure out between these two teams. We'll discuss coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Your skis are skinny and your boots tie with leather.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. You need up-to-date ski equipment, and your kids want the good stuff. Al Sporting Goods has season ski rental for the entire family. Ski and board equipment that you can rent for the entire season. Pick them up now, bring them back in May. Youth season ski or snowboard rental, only $99. Adult season ski or snowboard rentals, only $114. Don't wait. $99 and $114 season ski rental prices will go up. Al Sporting Goods for season ski rentals. Every sport, every season.
Why wait? Ron Keller Tires. Stay safe and do it fast. We're always asked by customers if they need snow tires. Fact is, winter tires have the best traction when temperatures drop below 45 degrees. Snow tires offer better braking and cornering, and Ron Keller Tire has the data to prove it. If you're concerned about winter driving, let Ron Keller Tire keep you safe and do it fast. That's the Ron Keller Tire difference. Why wait? Why wait? Ron Keller Tire. Logan, Tremonton, Preston, and Malad. Why wait?
Beezer Lock & Key specializes in securing your world with their expertise in locks, keys, and hardware. Every aspect of their services is meticulously tailored to ensure your safety. They offer a vast selection of hardware brands and access control options, along with custom master key systems. With Beezer Lock & Key, you have control of your facility's access 24/7. For 28 years, Beezer has provided top-notch security solutions that stand unmatched in the industry. Visit 4th North, 1st West, and Logan, or go to beezerlock.com to discover more.
Thank you for letting Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, the Allergy Clinic, and the Hearing Aid Center take care of your family medical needs this year. Make sure you call now for an appointment before the end of the year to utilize your cafeteria funds. Located in Providence and the new Three Peaks Medical Plaza, North Logan. The entire staff, along with Dr. Benyon, Blotter, and Robinette, wish you a safe and wonderful holiday season. Go to CacheValleyENT.com for details. Most insurance products, including Select Med, are accepted.
Are you tired of the same old boring eyewear? Crystal Vision in Logan is your go-to destination for unique and stylish eyewear. Their one-of-a-kind collection features exclusive styles and designs that will help you stand out from the crowd. Say goodbye to ordinary and hello to extraordinary. They push the boundaries with fresh styles and vibrant colors that reflect your personality. At Crystal Vision, it's not just about eyewear, it's about making a statement. Discover your unique style today. Crystal Vision. See the world through a different lens online at crystalvision.com.
Clean it up and get it out this fall.
Don't wait another winter. Let DD Auto and Salvage pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan want to pay you today. Search DD Auto and Salvage today or call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204.
See store for details.
Sunday on Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. The NFC West leading San Francisco 49ers host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hi, this is Mike Morgan. Join Brian Baldinger and me for all the action as Brock Purdy and the 49ers look to protect home field in a Week 11 NFC showdown with Baker Mayfield and the invading Buccaneers. If it's the NFL, it's right here.
Pre-game begins Sunday afternoon at 1:30 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
Join the show by calling 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
I know many of you were at the Utah State game, but have you seen the highlights or did you check in on your phone to what that Utah Jazz basketball court really looked like? Utah debuting their new court, all purple, for the in-season tournament. It'll be shown a few more times, as that was the first in-season tournament game in Salt Lake City. Not the first in-season tournament game for the Jazz, but the first one in Salt Lake, as Utah was able to pick up the win over the Portland Trailblazers last night, 115-99. I'll be honest, when I first saw it, I thought, ooh, that is very purple. But as the game got going, I don't know, I guess you kind of get used to it. Because everywhere you look, there's just very bright, very loud courts around the NBA.
Yeah, I feel like you'll get used to it. But for me, just whenever I've looked back, I've not watched a full game. I've only ever seen glimpses, but every time it's just like, what on earth am I looking at? Like, it's distracting from the actual basketball. It really is. It's so annoying.
New Orleans had their court, and I saw replays of their game, and that is...
It's a brighter purple, and they threw in neon green for good measure.
Green. Oklahoma City's was very loud and obnoxious.
Yeah, so it's just they had this mistake of just randomly interspersing in-season tournament games in the regular season, which they need to just say, okay, and kind of figuratively, because I know in-season tournament games are pretty much always going to also be regular season games, but just figuratively speaking, stop the regular season and say, we are playing the in-season tournament now. And say, it is in-season tournament time. Market it. This block of the season is the in-season tournament. Don't have some teams playing the in-season tournament last week. The Jazz kind of starting, late last week, but I think it was like 2 weeks ago were some of the first in-season tournament games.
I think they started early last week.
I guess it was early because the Jazz played their first in-season one on Friday, and they'd already started by that point.
Yeah.
But then, the Jazz are going to play 3 in-season tournament games in a row, then a game that isn't the in-season tournament, and then get back to the in-season tournament.
Right, because games tonight throughout the league are not in-season tournament games, so they're back to regular courts.
Yeah, they just need to say, it is in-season tournament time, everybody, and that's where you're going to build this hype. This is the in-season tournament. Play all the games in group play. Do the playoffs, and some teams will get their break, or they have their kind of makeup schedule, whatever they do, to make sure everyone's still playing games and teams don't just randomly get a break. Just say, this is the in-season tournament. This is the playoffs. This is the consolation games that all the losers get to play. Have that separate and don't just throw in these games so that the only way that you know it's the in-season tournament is that your eyes hurt from watching the screen and the announcers won't shut up about it. Like, make it a thing that you know it's the in-season tournament without having to be blasted with ugly courts and, having to look up beforehand whether or not it's the in-season tournament.
They can do graphics on the screen. We don't need garish graphics on the court.
Yeah, we don't need the court to serve as a graphic, but just, like I said, just say, all right, this is in-season tournament time. That's the way it needs to be, but there's my third rant on the in-season tournament.
But I will say this, though. It does – I will give Adam Silver credit because these games have been a little bit more spicy. Teams seem to be getting up for these games a little bit more. And
Draymond Green does.
Yeah, more on that in a second. But it seems like there's a little more sizzle in these early season games that – sometimes is there, but more often than not, it's not in the NBA until we get to around Christmas.
Is that really because of the in-season tournament, though?
Well, it's providing a different reason to talk about what's happening in the NBA earlier in the season.
But is that what's motivating the players?
I don't know. But
what do the players have to gain with the in-season tournament? There's no tradition. Unless some guys are really gunning for that in-season tournament MVP and all in-season tournament team that I think they're selecting. What are these guys? I'd probably be playing better because I'd be mad the entire time that I have to look down and see bright green.
So Utah got the win over Portland, which they should have.
They get a 2-game win streak, and these are two teams they should have beaten. So thank
Utah
heavens they did.
is beating teams they should beat. But are they doing things to create some momentum behind what they've been able to do? Now, their next game is Friday with Phoenix coming to town, another in-season tournament game. But Phoenix is a much different team than Portland and Memphis.
Of course, Phoenix, I believe, are only like 4-5 at this point. They're not doing super well. If I was looking at, I haven't tracked, 4-6. Excuse me. So, not doing particularly well themselves. They probably have a stack of injuries because bunch of these guys are, Bradley Beal and Devin Booker are going to spend half the season on the injury report because that's what happens when you gather 5 stars together. Like, oh, I'm out today, guys. My left toe hurts. Or Bradley Beal's back, I guess. Of course, he's been injury prone, so I'm more tempted to believe Bradley Beal being injured.
Yeah, Phoenix has lost 2 in a row. Utah's won their last 2, so could be interesting what happens on Friday.
All right, write it down. Jazz beating the Phoenix Suns.
But last night, what's been interesting, though, is that this Jazz team is, since Will Hardy made that notable change and handing the point guard reins to Keontae George over Talen Horton-Tucker, Utah does seem to be operating at a more efficient level offensively, and he is playing a very solid job at the de facto point guard for the Utah Jazz now.
Yeah, he's playing, the role of distributor well, and a lot of it, some of them are a lot of Rajon Rondo assists where he stands there and everyone else does something and he throws it to the guy who shoots the shot, but sometimes you need a guy like that. And it allows other guys to play their role, like Jordan Clarkson. I happened to notice, I was looking at this earlier today, and I went and tweeted, I was like, does anybody else notice that Jordan Clarkson has had he's averaging 30 points over the last 3 games on crazy efficiency after he started the season horribly in terms of efficiency? And it lines right up with when Keontae George went to point guard. Is that a coincidence? Maybe, but I'm not 100% sure that that's a coincidence. And I know they've played, Indiana, Memphis, Portland's not the craziest gauntlet, so it's possible it's a coincidence, but I'm not 100% sold that it is. Because I've been talking about how you're forcing Jordan Clarkson, a 6th-man scorer archetype, to play point guard. Well, he doesn't know how to do that. That's not what he does. You don't ask Walker Kessler to go out there and play point guard because that's not what he does. Don't make Jordan Clarkson do it just because his position is guard. So I think he's probably playing a little bit better. And then hopefully Talen Horton-Tucker and Colin Sexton can play a little bit better too, more in their role as opposed to being, round hole, round peg in a square hole type thing where you're trying to make a guy who doesn't fit in that archetype play that way. Keontae George, clearly a little bit better of a playmaker, a more willing passer. Let him play that role. Let everyone else play their role, and it'll all work much better together.
Yeah, so that's been fun to watch. He's 7 assists, 4 rebounds, a steal. He added 15 points. I think it's been fun to watch Ochai Agbaji continue to grow as a perimeter defender, but also somebody who can help offensively. And Colin Sexton off the bench. I think that he is proving to be a very solid contributor for Utah as well off the bench. He had 13 points, 7 assists, 2 steals, and Colin Sexton had himself a block last night. Very rare for somebody his size.
Yeah, usually it's that 1 or 2 blocks a season because it'd be like you average 0.0 or 0.1. It's like, wait a minute, what? When did he get the 1? But yeah, it's funny. Yeah, Colin Sexton, he's perfect in that 6-man role. He plays 28 minutes coming off the bench. That's what he should be doing.
Yeah. It's a great position for him, how he has understood that role and what he can bring to the team in that second unit or play alongside other starters but spell who the other starter is, just to keep the pedal down offensively to put opposing defenses on their heels a little bit.
And I think Keontae George, you mentioned him getting the 15 points. I've been looking for that a little bit more. Talked on a previous show just about I want to see him have that breakout game. I don't need him to be going out there averaging 20, but I'd like to see him, do something more than scoring 3 or 4 points and, get 6 or 7 assists. Or since he's been a starter, he's averaging like 9 assists. But, getting 15 points, it's a step in the right direction. I don't know if he's had any other double-digit scoring games this entire year. I know he had a 12-point game earlier. Last time out was against Phoenix. So getting into that double-figure scoring, go 4 of 9 from the field. Want to see a little bit more scoring. I really love what I'm seeing out of the guy who's, as a starter, he's had 9 assists, 11 assists, and 7 assists. We're seeing that passing.
Great.
Now let's see a little bit more of the scoring as well.
And with all this, I don't know if I want to call it drama, but maybe a distraction and just trying to figure things out with the guard situation with Utah, John Collins is quietly out there just going to work. And, we're not talking about him enough. We're talking a lot about the guard play, but we're not talking enough about the other new guy, and that's Collins. And it's been interesting to see how maybe his game has changed a little bit with Walker Kessler out of the mix. That's something Utah's going to have to still try to figure out, how Collins, Markkanen, and Kessler can all play together. But I've been really pleased with his contributions, both offensively and defensively for Utah.
Yeah, I think they'll certainly have to work things out, and for now it'll be a little of a breather for Collins with Kessler out. Maybe they can make things work. But, yeah, he's come in and done pretty much kind of what I was hoping that he would do. 15 points, 8 rebounds. I didn't think he was going to have an explosion in points or rebounds just because Lauri Markkanen's here. You got Kessler. He wasn't going to come in and be a 20 and 10 guy. Wanted him to come in and produce, which 15 points, 8 rebounds is producing, and he's shooting efficiently. Over 50% from the field, and also shooting 42% from 3, which I was not expecting him to do that. And I imagine that'll come down a little bit, but have him shoot efficiently from 3 and from the field and produce a little bit. Yeah, he's doing just that.
Text line is open if you want to weigh in. What do you think about that purple court for the Utah Jazz and early returns on the in-season tournament? 5338 texting in. I would actually watch the NBA if there were more rear chin locks during the game. God save the green.
Yeah, maybe it'd be a little more interesting. But
clever.
That was just a dumb moment from Draymond Green. And some of the defenses of him are just, it was more from just Golden State Warriors guys. Rudy Gobert had Klay Thompson in a headlock, which you can only believe that if you lie to yourself.
That was such a stupid response by Steve Kerr. And he is, there have been so many chances for him to try to correct Draymond Green or say, we've got to be better, we can't do these things, but he defends him. And so he emboldens him, he empowers him to still be on the court and do all this stupid stuff because he won't hold him accountable.
Yeah.
But last night in his post-game press conference, he's talking about how Rudy had his hands on Klay Thompson's neck, and he's putting his hands on his neck to kind of illustrate what Gobert was doing, like he's in front of him, choking him with his hands. It could be further from the truth.
Yeah, there's like...
Oh, and our guys were looking at the replays, and that's what they told me. No, it wasn't even near that.
You can find a frame where it kind of looks like Rudy was doing to Clay what Dre was doing to Rudy. The difference is that, Rudy Gobert is about 7 inches taller than Klay Thompson. When he reaches his arm around him, his hand's going to be around his neck area, and he's trying to pull him back. But again, it was mostly draped over the shoulder and on his chest. Draymond, who's like 4 inches shorter than Rudy, goes straight up for the neck and drags him across the court by his neck.
For 9 seconds.
So it's like I said, Steve Kerr is lying through his teeth about that. Or somebody lied through their teeth to him about it. And there's just no excuse.
I mean, he's today's Dennis Rodman. He was a disruptor who didn't care. He was physical. He got technicals. He did a lot of stupid antics on the court.
See, I don't care about if you want to get technicals and you want to be physical and maybe maybe push a guy a little bit more on a foul. But there's a difference between being a little dirty and trying to hurt people.
Just all out reckless.
Like, yeah, there's a difference. I play basketball. I throw my shoulder into people. I hip check a person, but I'm not trying to hurt them.
You're not coming up behind him and putting him in a chokehold.
I don't.
Get him out of your lane.
I don't recall having done that before.
I love Rudy Gobert's response after the game, just throwing shade at Draymond Green. Such a great response. Just calling him a clown. It was a clown move. Things that he did. Rudy was just like, I'm just trying to be a peacemaker. You could see my hands were up in the air. I wasn't trying to do anything more. And Draymond's still dragging him around. And just a clown move that Draymond, whenever Steph Curry's out of the game, Draymond tries to get himself kicked out.
Saying if Draymond Green knew how to do a chokehold, it would have been worse.
Yeah,
he would have. He's like, he was trying to hurt me, but he's so bad at it, he couldn't do it.
It's all fake toughness in the NBA.
Well, Draymond is one of the epitomes of fake toughness.
Yes,
he's only tough when he knows he's not going to get it back.
You're right. So interesting to see what the NBA does here in response. He has to be suspended. And it has to be for a significant amount of time. Not a game, not 2 games. It's got to be like a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
10 games or more.
Yeah, you got to be looking at taking a month out of this guy's season and say, look, that's unacceptable behavior. Or you're going to keep getting people, you only get a game or 2 and I get to chokehold my opponent?
Yeah, when he stomped on Domantas Sabonis in the playoffs last year, he got suspended. And the reasoning was, part of it was because, look, there's a pattern here. It's not just what happened, but it's also the individual and his history of doing stupid stuff.
Yeah, this is a guy who can't control his temper and just feels justified in doing whatever he wants, and he's going to get away with it because he's Draymond Green. And then bemoan, be like, they just hate me because they think I have a reputation. It's like, buddy, you earned that reputation. And it's weird that he would, he'll talk about being, the referees are out to get him. It's like, buddy, we have your career on film.
Right? There's a mixtape of Draymond Green's greatest hits.
Yeah, you can't.
And half of it is him kicking guys in the nuts.
Yeah, people who play sports know how people are supposed to move in certain situations. So when you pretend that you fell over and then dive into a person's knees, I mean, Chris Paul did this the other night. We know how the human body moves in certain situations. We know how things happen. You're not fooling anybody. Like me, I can tell when you're falling, and I can tell when you're diving into somebody's knees.
0-3-6-6, but Dennis Rodman was productive.
Well, Draymond
Green has had long stretches of being very productive.
Draymond Green's going to end up being in the Hall of Fame. Whether you think that's right or not, he's going to be.
Yes.
But
Draymond Green has been a very productive player.
I wonder if Draymond Green is insecure about the fact that he's going to be known as that guy who was on the team when Steph Curry won a bunch of championships.
Right. He wants to be known as the guy who helped make it happen, but he just happens to be a guy who was on the roster.
And I wonder if he also invested a lot of self-worth in being the greatest defender of his generation, and then Rudy Gobert stole it from him.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
In a row.
Draymond was in line to win a bunch of Defensive Player of the Year, and then Rudy Gobert came along. So he decided to choke him out.
All right, we got to take another time out here in the Full Court Press. Love to have you interact as well. 435-339-0321.
Experience Barrel and Stave on Federal Avenue, where good food, good drinks, and good people meet. Using local ingredients to create the most delicious taste possible. Barrel and Stave is a cozy cocktail bar offering a large selection of wines, whiskeys, and cocktails, along with an amazing selection of bar bites and weekly chef specials guaranteed to tantalize your taste buds. With live music every Wednesday night and Thirsty Thursdays that offer $2 off drafts, come and see what you've been missing. Barrel and Stave, Tuesday through Saturday evenings on Federal Avenue.
Hi, this is Ashley with LSS Insurance. Come learn how to make an informed decision for your retirement, Medicare, and Social Security. It's never too early to plan for the future. The third Thursday, November 16th at 7 p.m. Come to a free seminar at our office. Call 752-9493 for details. We will answer all your Medicare and Social Security questions. Come the third Thursday, November 16th at 7 p.m. Call LSS at 752-9493 to RSVP. Walk-ins are always welcome.
Advanced Heating and AC and Advanced Fireplace and Stove want to help local families this year with a food drive. Drop off your canned foods at Advanced Heating across from DI or hand them to one of their technicians when they come to your home for a repair. And to say thank you, the Advanced team will match all your contributions and offer a 20% discount on your next service call. Find out more at AdvancedFireplaceandStove.com or call 752-7272. Donate to Advanced Fireplace and Stove's canned food drive for local families.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Check out the new Liberty Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in beautiful Montpelier, Idaho. We've got friendly staff, great service, fresh inventory, and the same values you expect in a small town. Montpelier, Idaho, a small town with great people to serve you, the people of Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah. You can now see most inventory online too at libertycdjr.com. We're the new Liberty Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram in Montpelier with warranty forever.
They love home game days at Locker 42. Saturday, it's the end of the home football season when the Aggies host Boise State. A 5 p.m. kickoff means cooler game temperatures and dressing warmly with a jacket and hat from Locker 42. Or stay really warm with an Igloo fan wrap. Full of unique Aggie items and apparel. Locker 42, a store exclusively for Aggie fans.
Saturday on Compass Media Network's coverage of NCAA football. It's an SEC East battle under the lights as the 11th-ranked Missouri Tigers welcome in the Florida Gators. Hi, it's Greg Daniels. Join Chad Brown and me for all the action as the electrifying Cody Schrader looks to rush Mizzou past Trevor Etienne and the Gators team looking to become bowl eligible. It's number 11 Missouri and Florida. If it's NCAA football, it's right here.
Pregame begins Saturday afternoon at 5 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
It's going to come down to how we handle ourselves up front on both sides. Similar conversation that we just had with the O-line. Same thing for the D-line. This thing starts with them, their ability to run the ball, and then they throw the ball explosively off with the run game. If you don't stop the run, they're just going to keep running it all day long, and they are built extremely well at quarterback, running back, and the O-line to do that. So I think that's probably a bigger conversation than which quarterback plays.
That's Blake Anderson earlier this week talking about really focusing on the trenches in this game between Utah State and Boise State. And we've heard Coach now a few times in these games, these matchups against the Broncos, afterwards talk about how Utah State needs to get bigger and more physical in the trenches, both offensively and defensively. We heard that in year one. We heard that in year two. Now it's in year three here. I don't know that we're any better. I don't think we're any bigger or more physical on the offensive or defensive fronts this year compared to years past. But it's still a mantra that's going to continue, especially in this matchup against Boise State, who has struggled this year overall, but they still are pretty sound in what they do at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, this is a team that, they've struggled, but they have the tools to absolutely blow out Utah State. It is possible that Boise State walks out with a 3-touchdown-plus victory over the Aggies. That's how dangerous of a threat they are. They are capable of doing that with the weapons they have on offense, with the size that they have, and they have the ability to disrupt Utah State's offense and just plow through Utah State's defense. So the Aggies are going to have to go out there and play one of their best games of the season, offensively and defensively, to give themselves a chance in this game.
Right, and we've seen games where Utah State has struggled to control the line offensively, and the quarterback, it wouldn't matter who the quarterback is, they're under duress, whether it was McKay Hillstead or Cooper Legault. And so I think that was a real problem against San Jose. It has gotten a little bit better since then. I don't know that the Aggies have necessarily faced a defensive front quite like that, though going into that game we didn't foresee that same level of pressure or physicality out of San Jose. But you can expect that this Saturday against Boise State. And that was another issue that Coach continued to hit on, is that offensive line has to be able to cover up those pressures as they're coming from Boise State.
Hopefully we can cover these guys up this week. It's going to be a critical part of the game. The ability to stay ahead of the chains, cover them up, protect where we need to, run the ball when we need to. We struggled with all that last year and the year before with these guys, and it's going to be a key matchup for this game to be successful for us.
Yeah, it's one of the big keys in this one is can the Aggies give Cooper Legault time? And if they can, I like Utah State's chances on Saturday. Yeah. I really do.
Yeah, this game's going to be won or lost in the trench. It's going to be won if Utah State is able to, not get beat up on the defensive line and allow Boise State to just run for 4 or 5 yards of carry. If Boise State just keeps running 5, 6, 7 yards in the ground game, doesn't matter who's at quarterback. I could go play quarterback for Boise State, and they'd still win if they're doing that with the run game. So they need to be able to do that, force their quarterbacks to make plays. Their quarterbacks have struggled at times this year. So make them win through the pass game. And then, for Utah State, protecting Cooper Legault and having your own productive run game. This game will come down to the offensive and defensive lines, not the skill position players on either side.
More on that coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Hey, HR directors, open enrollment is right around the corner. It's time for a fresh look at your employee benefits. This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance and Alera Benefits. We are a local agency with national resources and multiple options. Give us a call. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Call Quality First Insurance and Alera Benefits today, 435-752-0101.
Black Friday has started at Daryl's Appliance in Benson. They've stocked up so they can give you the lowest prices of the year. Save up to 50% off select appliances. Plus, you get an exclusive 2-year warranty with all scratch and dent appliances. Double dip with their exclusive mail-in rebates. And if you need financing, they have 12 months interest-free available. Daryl's Black Friday sale. See store for details. Daryl's, your first and last call. Find them west on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
Not everyone has been in an accident, but everyone knows someone who has. If you or a loved one has been hurt in a car, truck, motorcycle, cycling, or pedestrian accident, call the Advocates today, now with offices in Cache Valley. The Advocates offer free consultations. Talk with an experienced attorney and let an advocate guide you through your case and take over the stress of phone calls with the insurance company so you can rest and get better. You didn't deserve to be in an accident, but you do deserve an advocate. Chat online at utahadvocates.com or call 801-355-5550.
The Aggies, Jazz, high schools, even the Pee Wees T-ball team. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, The Fan.
Last couple of minutes on the Full Court Press. If you want to weigh in, we'd love to hear from you. 435-339-0321. And we have a few texts that have rolled in here, Jason.
Yes, we do. 8968 says, I would like to see a bowl matchup between BYU and James Madison.
It's possible.
Yeah, I think that should be a pretty good matchup. BYU, although, as we said multiple times, they're staring 5 and 7 in the face. It would be weird that you'd have two teams that are on the, what would you call them? The makeup teams, the teams that you need to fill in teams,
the sloppy seconds,
substitutes. Have just, instead of putting them in against a 6 and 6 or whoever you put them against, have them just play each other.
Yeah, BYU, I'm already seeing on Twitter, they're gleeful about this decision today because it opens the door for them to still have a chance to get to a bowl game.
Yeah, but they're picking James Madison over BYU. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. It's a tough question, bowl selection, because it doesn't always come down to just record.
Yeah, true. 5879, it comes down to who's going to sell tickets. 5879, do you think we can score on their secondary?
Well, they've given up a lot of passing yards. I was looking at statistical ranks, and I can't remember exactly where Boise State ranked, but it wasn't good as far as the amount of passing yards they give up.
Teams have been able to score on Boise more than has been normal.
Yeah. I know Blake Anderson did talk about how he felt like the stats are a little deceptive in that, and he still sees them as a big threat. But the thing is, the Aggies are going to have to be able to control the line of scrimmage and slow down Boise State's front seven, or they're not getting an opportunity to make plays against that secondary. That's going to be the key for this one, is having a consistent enough run game, run that play action, once you've gotten that consistent run game, or just pray that Cooper Lagat has the best game of his life. I guess those are your options for going up against this Boise defense.
Yeah, in fact, here's what he had to say about being a little deceptive on their stats.
Well, I think they played some really good folks, number one. The better opponents you play, the tougher it is to defend them. They obviously clearly lost some guys to the NFL and have gone through some injuries. But I don't know, when I watch them, I see a very, very physical, very dynamic group of dudes. And so, I don't know. I think stats lie to you a little bit. I think if you look at stats, they're a little deceiving at times. I think you look at the people and really look at how sound they are and how physically they play in space, how well they tackle in space, how much problems they present up front.
Yeah, that's a tough team. They're just because their record isn't great and because they fired their coach isn't going to make it easy. We'll continue to break it down throughout the rest of the week. And don't forget, we'll be broadcasting live at Prodigy Brewing on Friday. Stop by and say hi.